Hello, welcome to my channel, another bibliophile reads. My name is Greg, and I am doing the Spring into Adventure tag, created by Randy Ray, the literate Texan. Tag was created for the Spring into Adventure readathon, where we, the co-hosts of this group, are going to be reading adventure fiction or nonfiction in the month of April. It may also sneak into May and June because it's spring into adventure, not necessarily spring into April. It's just reading adventure stories. And how you want to define adventure stories is pretty much up to the reader. Randy Ray was talking about in his tag that if there's just one adventure scene in a book, maybe it's not an adventure story. But if there's multiple adventure plot lines, yeah, you can count it as an adventure story. So the other co-hosts in Spring into Adventure are Mark at Book Time with Elvis, Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics, Sean D. Steadfast, and Jim at Mystery and Mayhem. And check out all those other young gentlemen's replies. And I use young in a fairly kind term. Maybe we should say seasoned gentlemen. Or maybe we're not all gentlemen. Because, I'll get to that in a moment. There are 10 prompts. What is your favorite adventure book? Let's go with Flashman by George MacDonald Fraser. Flashman was a very minor character in a novel called Tom Brown's School Days. He was the school bully and a bit of a ruffian. And George MacDonald Fraser took that character and just ran with it. Flashman is a coward, a huge coward. He is so cowardly, in fact, that he will fight extremely hard to get out of dangerous situations where he thinks he's in danger. And everyone else thinks he's a great, a magnificent hero, a hero for the Victorian age. And he's also a nasty man. He is not a gentleman, even though everyone thinks he is a gentleman. And Flashman is very good with the ladies. He is very good at learning foreign languages, and his adventures are just magnificent. There is a whole slew of books that you can read in this series. I have read most of them, but not all of them. And you just got to hold up all these wonderful old adventuresome books. And Flashmen will appear all over history. And apparently, George MacDonald Fraser is actually a pretty good historian, so he sneaks in Flashmen into historical events and makes it plausible that this fictional character could have been there. There's a famous line in the opening of one of his early books where Flashman is saying, if General Lee had not taken my advice, he would have won the Battle of Gettysburg. Because Flashman, apparently, was at the Battle of Gettysburg. It is a story that you will never read in any of MacDonald's books, because George MacDonald Fraser said, that's just too good of a statement to ever actually put down on paper. So Flashman is my favorite adventure novel. What is the newest, most recently published adventure book you've read? That would be The Blackest Heart by Brian Lee Durfee, published in 2019. It is the second in a trilogy of fantasy novels. I'm not really big on fantasy. It's not that I never read it, it's just that I rarely read it. But I actually enjoyed the two fantasy books on this series that I read. That was The Forgetting Moon and then The Lonesome and then The Blackest Heart. The Lonesome Crown is the third book in the trilogy, which I do own in Audible. I do recommend the audiobooks. Brian Lee Durfee is on BookTube. He mentioned that he is actually going blind, and therefore audiobooks are very important to him. He also has some recent videos where he's suffered a really serious health crisis, and he's currently in hospital. So if you want to support a booktuber who is in hospital and you like fantasy novels, go buy his fantasy novels and read them, because they're pretty darn good. Speaking from someone who does not usually read fantasy books. 3, what's the earliest published adventure book you've read? Well, that could be Gilgamesh, that could be the Iliad, but I'm going to go with an adventure novel, and the one I'm picking out is The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas, published in 1844. It is the story of D'Artagnan and his meet up with the other three musketeers, and going after Milady and Cardinal Richelieu, the Cardinal Richelieu something, I don't remember his last name. But it's really, really rather exciting. Now, I'm also going to recommend that you find a modern translation. There's at least 2. The older public domain translations are a little bit edited, because Dumas was a Frenchman, and as D'Artagnan is talking to the lady, Milady, they're getting rather racy in their banter. And some of the old translations, got to take that banter out because it's sexual. So go for a modern translation if you can find one. Number 4, who's your favorite adventure book author? Let's just go back with George MacDonald Fraser. What's your favorite film adaptation of an adventure book? Now, I'm really not keen on film adaptations of any sort of book, so I'm just going to take a pass on this question. Number 6, who's your favorite adventure book character? Let's go back with Flashman. Number 7, do you prefer fiction or nonfiction adventure books? Probably fiction, but there are some really good nonfiction adventure books. Pick up a biography of Richard Francis Burton. Now, there was a man who knew the adventuresome life. He, a lot like Flashman, and Flashman is sort of loosely modeled on Richard Francis Burton. Both those gentlemen, or non-gentlemen in case of Flashman, were very good at learning foreign languages. And Burton was fluent in Arabic, and he went on a pilgrimage to Mecca. If he had been discovered as an Englishman, he would have been killed. But he pulled it off. Everyone thought he was an Arab. So I definitely recommend Sir Francis Burton biographies. He has written some of his own books. I have not read any of them. He's also known for translating the Arabian Nights. He was the first person to translate that work of Arabic into English. You could also seek out The River of Doubt by Candace Millard. I've mentioned this book on my channel numerous times. It is the story of Theodore Roosevelt and his exploration down an uncharted Amazonian tributary river. Really fascinating. Fascinating that an ex-president of the United States could do that. Number 8, do you consider yourself adventurous? Why or why not? I am not in the slightest bit adventuresome or adventurous. I really don't like exploring new areas. I don't like driving in new areas. I like the familiar. I like staying in places with comfy beds, with hot water and running toilets. I would not be happy out in the wild exploring things at all. The only thing even remotely adventuresome about me is that I'm willing to read a lot of different books. Um, I really don't think that counts as adventurous. Number 9. What's your favorite genre to combine with the adventure genre? I'm going to go with the spy novel. Um, I discovered this about 2 years ago for Garbogist. This is Nick Carter. He is the American spy master. What's he called? The Kill Master. And he is sent on super secret adventures and has to kill a lot of people. And also, quite tragically, there are beautiful women that he has to deal with. In this book, poor Nick Carter has to deal with beautiful 20-year-old German triplets, and he has to keep them entertained and away from danger. And can you guess how he has to entertain these German triplets? And he has to entertain their mother. The mother gave birth to them when she was 19, so she's still pretty young and beautiful, along with her daughters. And they're stupid because it's a spy novel. It's nowhere near the quality of Jean Le Carré or even Ian Fleming, but they're a lot of fun and they're naughty. Gotta like that. Question number 10. Do you play or have you ever played adventure-themed games, video games, board games, tabletop RPGs, etc.? I was rather heavily invested in RPGs when I was in high school. Even middle school, I guess I started. I started with Dungeons and Dragons, and then I sort of moved on to RuneQuest, which is a slightly different form of Dungeons and Dragons. And I would play that till I dropped dead. It kept me out of trouble. I would say that role-playing games kept me from the drinking and the smoking crowd. I probably would have gone down that route if it had not been for RPG games. We also did some board games. One of my favorite old board games was Illuminati, created by Steve Jackson. And that was a game, it was a card game and a dice game, and he had some money chits. And you would play an Illuminati. That's a secret organization trying to take over the world. And there were 5 or 6 different Illuminatis. You had the UFOs. You had the Cult of Cthulhu, the Gnomes of Zurich, the Bermuda Triangle. And each Illuminati had its own secret goal to take over the world. And you play the cards. And now, one thing really fun about this old card game was the creator encouraged people to cheat. Yeah, the rules of the game was if you can cheat and you can get away with it, it's fine. Now, the rule was if you got caught cheating, you had to fess up and admit that you were cheating, but there was no punishment for cheating. So that was a fun game. Now, the thing is, I stopped playing these board games and role-playing games once I graduated from high school. Once I hit college, other things happened in my life, and I never picked them up again. That is the end of the tag. And who am I going to tag? Well, I'm doing Jim at Books, Reading, and Stuff. I know he reads some adventures, some books every now and then. I'm doing Gareth at Books, Songs, and Other Magic. And I'm doing Debs at Rainier Reads. She joined us on our last live stream for Spring into Adventure, but I don't think she's been tagged yet. So Debs, you're also tagged if you want to do it. Thank you for watching, and keep on reading.